most of us have stuff to move on to after this meeting is over, so I want to be mindful of everybody's time. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance this morning.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, our first item of business is to consider the minutes of the July 12th, 2022 meeting and the July 26th, 2022 recessed meeting.
We approve such minutes.
Okay.
I second.
All right, there's motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. Item 2 is consider a temporary alcohol permit for the Harvey County Fair Rodeo. Denise.
Yes. Okay, this year the Harvey County Fair is wanting to have a alcohol permit for the rodeo, and they meet all the requirements, and so I would move or ask that you would approve this. Do you have any questions about it? This is something new that they're doing. They've got the stuff blocked off. They'll have all the entrance blocked off also, and security at those entrances. So.
Thank you. Any questions from anyone on that? If not, we can take a motion.
I move we approve the temporary alcohol permit for Harvey County Fair.
I second.
All right, there's motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. Item number 3 is to receive a request from Park Aerospace regarding the reimbursement for a fire pump at their facility. And Chris or Kelly, you guys are going to take this one.
Sure, I will start out and we can tag team it. I know someone who's here from Park as well if you have questions. In your packet, you were provided a letter from Park Aerospace. They were requesting an item for reimbursement. It is a fire pump to serve their new facility. It was not part of the original development agreement, and it's a significant expense, and we did not, as staff, have the administrative authority to do that since it wasn't part of the development agreement. So we just wanted you to receive their request, and it would be something that you would need to review and approve, and staff is happy to look into details for you and get back to you. But I don't know if you wanted to say anything. You are welcome to if you wanted to come up. So.
Just here for questions and kind of point out one of the memos that was sent from Bob Myers.
If you want to come up and if you do want to present that to us, I don't know that we have that in the packet. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, and I can get it for you as background.
Okay.
Well, there was a memo that went back and forth over the agreement, and basically it was that we had enough water pressure that we would not need that pump. And that did not end up being the case, and that's why we had to get the pump. So.
And as Kelly mentioned, we're not asking for action today. We'd ask you to take it under advisement. We can provide you with additional documentation, but what Kelly said is accurate, that because it's not in the development agreement, there's no administrative authority to provide that reimbursable. It would have to be through an amendment by the city commission. So we will furnish you with additional information. If you have any questions for staff, please feel free, but otherwise, just please take it under advisement.
Can we get a copy of that memo there?
We will get you, development agreements will get you.
Okay.
Excuse me. Yeah, we will get you additional background information. So.
Okay.
Was that before we did the loop? The water loop?
Yes, sir. Well, no. The facility was completed before the new loop was completed. Is that your question?
Yeah, well,
The memo
do we
was
have
done
enough water
before that,
pressure out
yes.
there now? I mean, was it a
We have we have adequate water pressure at the hydrants. The issue has to do with the water pump that runs their fire suppression system inside the building, as I understand it.
Yeah. Okay. Is there any other questions or anything anybody wants to talk about now, and we can come back to the talk? Yeah, come back to it at a later time. Anything? Okay. Well, thank you for coming and presenting. I think we'll receive some more information. I know that for, I think, all of us, this is kind of the first we've heard about it when we received the packet. So, item number 4, RHID public hearing. The first item is to conduct a public hearing for the Rural Housing Incentive District for Enclave. Rebecca, you're going to take both of these, A and B.
All right, good morning, Mayor and Commissioner.
Today, we are in the final step of this RHID for the Enclave at 14th. We have the developer here, Mr. Andrew Reese, who's available to answer any questions or address any issues you may have. Just as a quick review of the history in this process, the first resolution that created this RHID, you all approved at the December 14th meeting. That was presented to the Secretary of Commerce. They approved the creation and moving forward with this process. Along with that, we put in our housing study that shows the challenges and how this is a recommended type of action. At the June 14th meeting, you took on the second resolution, which set the date for this public hearing, and the proposed draft development plan. And so today what we're looking for is for you to conduct the public hearing, and then, if you will, approve the attached ordinance, which will create the RHID and approve the development plan as we presented. So, any questions for me before we move on?
Okay, well, at this time, we'll open up for a public hearing. If there's anybody here that would like to speak on it, you can come forward to the microphone and do so now.
And Mayor, if I may, you may hear comments from the developer prior to the public hearing. Would be
Okay.
It's the staff report, developer, and then the public hearing.
Okay, I'm sorry. Would you like to come forward and present anything?
Yeah.
You would just state your name and your relation to the project.
So Andrew Reese, developer on the project. We've been working on this for quite some time, still on track with everything that we've talked about, which was 7 duplexes in the area. Those will be 3-bed, 2-bath, 2-car garage, newly constructed. We're doing similar stuff down in the Wichita area, so excited to bring it here and answer any questions if there are any.
Which is the latest one in Wichita that you've done geographically?
So right now, we're actively developing out one in Bel Air as well as Mulvane. Those are 2 that are active at the moment, and then we've got land being platted in some other areas, but we haven't started construction on those yet.
I was just curious, there's a high-density one on North Oliver right now at 29th and Oliver, and I was curious if it was similar to those.
We're, like I said, the most similar one, we're actually using the same floor plans on this one as what we'd be using in Bel Air. And that's up on around 53rd and Webb.
Okay.
And so that's where that one's at.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we'll open it for any public comment. Okay, the public hearing will be closed. We'll bring the discussion back to the bench. Any questions or anything from anybody here? Okay, we can take a motion if there is one for the ordinance. Do we have an ordinance number?
It's been a while since that. It will be 5087-22.
I move we approve ordinance 5087-22.
I'll second that.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, excited to see those go up. Item number 5 is to receive an update on solid waste collection here in the city. Suzanne?
Yes, Commissioners, as you know, we changed our recycling service this spring, and Nisley is now the private hauler that is doing collection for those that wanted to recycle. They have 452 locations as of July 13th that they are collecting. That is above the 300 number that they said they would need in order to remain active here in Newton. When we started this process, well, even when we started recycling and doing our collection originally, we had a 2-cart system where you had 1 trash cart, 1 a recycling cart. And now that we have some that are not recycling, we gave them an additional cart because they needed more room for their trash, their solid waste. We said at that time, if they weren't recycling, they received that cart without charge. Those that are recycling would like to have an additional cart. We have a total of 47 residential customers that pay for an additional cart. That would be their second cart. The additional cart fee is $14.86. This has become quite confusing. Staff would like us to do away with this fee for that second cart. I think you would like us to do away with the fee for the second cart. It would be a loss of revenue of roughly $8,300 per year. We are going to have to order some new carts because we think there's going to be others that are going to request additional. But at this time, we're saying this makes sense so that we go ahead and allow that second cart. But if you have a third cart or a fourth cart, there would still be the additional fee for those.
Agree.
For some reason, when people recycle after the fact, they don't tell us they still have that second cart. So some people are getting charged and some people aren't, and so
yeah.
it's just kind of a mess.
Have you heard from anybody else, Suzanne, that was wondering why they don't have a second cart, but their neighbor does?
No,
No.
we had a lot of calls kind of in the middle, and see what has happened is some people have waited. People called, this is so confusing, and we've tried to figure this out in water billing, how it has worked out too in utility billing. But we do have some that requested a second cart because they were not going to recycle. And then they have now, because the recycling nicely couldn't get their things ready to go until July 1. After July 1, they've started recycling. So they have 2 trash carts and a recycle cart. But we don't know about it because we didn't get the list from Nisley until a couple weeks,
Okay.
must have been 2 weeks ago in
Then we have to
advance.
go through and check each one, and it's just,
It's a lot of administrative checking of lists to see who has a cart, who doesn't have the second cart.
and then what are we going to do, go up and just take it out? I mean,
Yeah.
it's
In
just
the
hard.
middle of the
It's-
night.
Yeah, yeah.
It would alleviate a lot of problems just to not worry about that, give everybody 2 carts like they did before.
If they want it.
If
If
want
they
it.
don't want
If
it,
they
They
want
don't
it,
have to
and-
have it.
yeah.
I wouldn't want 3 carts at my house, but yeah.
I wouldn't be able to store 3 carts.
Yeah.
They'd just be a problem. So I think those that need it are going to make the ask, and those that find it to be extra won't.
Right.
I don't necessarily buy that we're going to have to buy carts right away. We've only got 10% of those 47 of the 452 subscribers, so you should have some carts laying around.
We have a few, but we have to trade them out quite frequently because things happen to them. And you got to have enough on hand to be able to deal with that. So
Right.
we are going to have to purchase carts, for sure. We only have around 600 of them sitting, which is a lower number.
What's your
because
churn
we
rate, though?
put We
I mean-
put off purchasing. But then when this came along, we had to switch in and swap out carts. We're going to have to do an extra order. But that's okay.
But we might not have to do it right now.
We will need to do it before the end of the year. We just know how many we need for, we have a history of this and knowing how many we need to have on hand for swapping out. Because it's not just about the recycle, but it's also about damage to carts.
Well, that's
and
what I
things
wanted
like
to
that.
get to. So it's not just about putting a second cart out there that would cause you to have to buy
No,
carts.
but we wouldn't have moved forward until 2023 had this not been an issue.
We might be able to push it off. Get your prices, see where we're at, watch your churn rate.
Okay.
So you're good with the loss of 83, 81? I mean, you'd rather do that than have all the,
People are going to be very unhappy with this, I think, and this makes it all copacetic. Everybody's on an even plane. Their neighbor doesn't have more than they do, and they feel like they are getting their money's worth.
We're trying to make it fair, and if we make it fair for our customers, this is the way to do it.
okay.
I feel like we would have ended up here if we would have foreseen this at the beginning,
Oh,
but
probably.
I mean, I think that's kind of the fairest way to handle it. So do we need to have you guys come back with an ordinance change or
It will require an ordinance change, but if we have
with an ordinance change or?
It will require an ordinance change, but if we have you vote saying that you would like us to move forward with this, then we want to go ahead and change it in the system, and we'll come back with the ordinance change, just to
Okay,
make it official.
Start it now.
so you would need a motion one way or the other today?
Yes.
Okay,
I move that we move forward with what you just proposed.
I second that.
okay. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
I love trash talk.
Well, thank you for working on that and hearing it from the beginning. All right,
Bring the drum set every time.
it's early in the morning.
I know.
Item number 6, consider the sale and lease of Building V at the City County Airport. Chris, you're going to take this.
Sure, and I think multiple staff members
Yep,
will jump
sure.
in on this team effort. So this has to do with the sale of Building V. This is the building at the Newton City County Airport, formerly the ABI building. had, when it was originally constructed, had the attached hangar that you see there further to the east. I believe at our last meeting, or maybe the meeting before, we entered into a ground lease to lease out the hangar. So this is the sale of the improvement. There's 3 documents in your packet that you'll see for your review and approval. One is the purchase agreement. That sells the improvement. That's the building. It's labeled as 2.15 acres. After a survey, we've determined that the lease footprint is actually 2.07 acres. That change has been reflected in the updated ground lease. So you've got the sale of the building, and this was essentially based on the form that we used for W, which was very similar in terms of this. There it was the county kind of orchestrating it, but it was the sale of an improvement on land owned by the city and county at the airport. So you've got the underlying ground lease, and you've got the sale of the improvement. So that's the first document, it's the purchase agreement. Purchase price of $1.75 million, 1.4 million funds available at closing, and $350,000 in the form of a carryback. It's set up for an August 11th closing, and it's contingent on the ground lease, which would be the second document that's in your packet. This is almost identical to the Hangar W ground lease, 50-year term, 15 cents per square foot, which amounts to $11.27 per month over the 50-year term. All of the standard terms are in there in terms of what we have for our airport leases. Of course, the ground lease will be contingent on county approval. We'll tee that up for them to hear it next Tuesday, as well as the sale of the building is also contingent on the ground lease. The third document that you'll see is the promissory note. That relates to the $350,000 carryback, whereby essentially the buyer receives a loan from the city to finance a portion of the purchase price. The terms, that's for $350,000 at 5%. Over 25 years, which amounts to a monthly payment of $2,046. It is subordinate. It's second in lien position to their primary mortgage for the loan. So I would stand for any questions. Maybe Kelly has something to add. Zach, this is something that. Go ahead.
I want either Zach or Kelly to say more about that carryback loan, of how prevalent that is in the marketplace on a sale like this, so that our citizens understand.
Sure.
This is not just a unique one-time thing that's going on here.
Yeah, and I think I'd like to defer to our listing agent, Jeff Lawrence, who's here, if he could come up to the podium to speak on that. Building V for victory.
Jeff Lawrence with Lang Real Estate. Thank you for having me. Yeah, carrybacks are not uncommon at all in real estate sales. I think your willingness to carry back a portion of the sale price, and this is what gets the deal done. That's what makes the deal pencil for the buyer's lender, Cross First Bank. We've got a great buyer here for a really unique property that's challenging in a number of ways. City staff has been nothing short of amazing in helping facilitate this deal. So the direct answer to your question is, yeah, carrybacks are not uncommon for owner sales to another party.
We have something similar in the past. We may have discussed this. You recall earlier this year, we did away with our Hope Home Repair program. That was a very similar situation on a much smaller scale. Residential house, we would basically, in the city's case, they would make improvements to the home, and then we would have basically a secondary lien against the property, so that when the property sold, if they did owe us money, we would get repaid in full. So it's similar, except we're not actually putting the money out up front like we were with the individual residences. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You guys recall doing that? I mean, it's been a while since we
yeah.
did one, and since the program's gone away now, we haven't done one recently.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The other thing, if I may, just while we're on the subject, recall that the bonds, they were originally IRBs. We refinanced them. One of the silver linings of COVID was we refinanced them and the payment was pretty substantially decreased. We did not extend the term of the bonds, but they did go from being IRBs to being GO, general obligation bonds, because as IRBs, we couldn't sell the building. It had to stay in our ownership. So when we refinanced, not only did we save money, but we made it eligible to be sold to a private property owner. And remember that bond is significantly more than what we're selling this one building for. But remember, the bond paid for not just the building, it also paid for the taxiway, it also paid for the hangar, and it also, my understanding again before my time here, but I also believe that there was some startup costs that were loaned to the business as part of that bond as well. So remember, although this is less than what we still owe on the bond, it is going back into private property ownership, which means it's going back onto the tax rolls. It's going to be excellent to have another user out there. It's going to be new employees. It's going to be a great benefit to the airport. We like having additional utility users out there. You know, that helps, you know, circulation and things like that on the water lines. So this is beneficial in multiple ways. So we're really glad to see this happen. And we are so grateful to Lang and to Jeff. He has had the patience of Job with me and learning the history of this particular facility.
Jeff, are you at liberty to speak on behalf of the buyer on what kind of business is going in out there?
Sure, I'd be happy to. The buyer's a local businessman, Jason Shipley. This is an expansion on an existing business that he's partnered in. You know, this is a really unique facility. Ideally, the right buyer for this can make use of the very specialized equipment that's in that building, and that's what he's going to do. Liquid egg is what's going to go in the 10,000 and 15,000 gallon containers there, and he's going to dry that for animal feed. Pretty darn sophisticated use of that very specialized equipment.
Yeah, while you're up here, how much other interest has there been before Jason came to the table?
Couple swings and misses. Got to do some deep dive due diligence on buyers for something like this.
Yep. Yeah. So I asked that, I knew that, but I asked that again, kind of like Leroy's question, for clarification purposes for the media and for those who may be watching or those who may follow up on this later, is that this is a great prospect for the community.
I feel like this is the best possible buyer we could find for this property.
And to Jeff's point, Mr. Shipley already is a partner in this particular business. This is an expansion, so it's something that's tried and true. This isn't like
local.
a startup, and it's
Correct.
a local guy.
Newton resident, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
local guy.
Yeah, happy.
Yeah.
I don't know that I can speak for everybody, but I can speak for myself and say that I'm really glad that that's who it's going to. So,
100%.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion on that? So you'll need a motion if anybody so chooses to approve the sale.
And staff would suggest, if you are ready to go forward, to approve the note and ground lease as presented, and to approve the note and the purchase agreement as presented, and to approve the amended version of the ground lease, which amends the description from 2.15 acres to 2.07 acres.
You need two different motions?
We can do one motion, all three items, as long as you get that change in.
Okay. I would move that we approve the note and the purchase agreement as presented, as well as approve the amended ground lease.
I will second that.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign? Okay. Thank you for your work on that, and thank you to you guys for working with us on that. I think that's a pretty big burden to have lifted off the city, so.
We are very
Yeah, and I appreciate that as well. I mean, it's good to know that we know how much work they do. It's good to hear it from someone outside the organization how much work they do as well, so.
We are all very pleased.
Yes.
Very pleased.
Yes, we're very glad for this. Okay. Item number 7 is consider a deed to authorize the sale of Hangar S. And Chris, you're going to take this one.
And Mayor, if I may, I'd ask that you table that matter to your meeting next week. This is a deed that just allows the private sale of Hangar S. in looking at the deed, there's one amendment that we want to make. I did talk to the county counselor on this. The county will take it up next week. I will not be here. Matt Mullen will be here in my absence, but we'll be ready to present that.
Okay.
And Chris noted this is a private sale. It's between two private entities, so just.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
City owns the underlying ground, needs to provide consent for that change of title to the improvement at the airport.
All right, you need a motion to table that?
Please.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we table item number 7.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. Do we need an executive session today?
I believe we will table it. If we need to, we can do it either Thursday morning at agenda review, or we could do it next Tuesday.
Okay. Need a motion to table that?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll make a motion to table number 8.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. I assume no one signed up for Citizens Forum. There are no citizens here, so. Okay. Let's go around. We'll start with Commissioner Stinnett.
Hi. I wasn't ready. Good morning, everybody. I'm on my first pot of coffee, so that's about all you get.
Oh, so you're done?
I'm done.
I did go watch the ground mower, the automated ground mower the other day. I was sick when I did it, but still made the effort to go see that. And that thing is incredible. So if you're out driving around, you see a mower, looks like it's just going on its own. It probably is a mower just kind of going on its own, it looks like. So anyway.
We're just using it on slopes because it's just so much safer.
Safety issues.
Yeah, that was way cool. I like gadgets, and that's definitely in the gadget category. So anyway, thank you.
Kelly?
No, sir.
Okay, Chris?
No, sir.
Suzanne?
No, sir.
Donna? Commissioner Valentine?
Well, first of all, thank you to our 2 chiefs for being here, representing our first responders. We appreciate you. And then to all our staff that are here that did such work on all of the stuff that we looked at today. I thank you for all your hours of effort and just everything, your expertise, giving this commission direction, so we appreciate that.
Vice Mayor Kane? Okay. I have a couple things. The first one, I just want to recognize the bench at Athletic Park for Todd Akers. I think that is very cool. So excited. I didn't realize, I probably knew this, didn't put 2 and 2 together, that it was from trees harvested here in Newton from our Parks Department. Todd was a good friend of mine outside of the city. He went to my church and actually presided over his funeral when he died. And so very cool to see. Was happy to see that. And then secondly is the construction. We've heard lots of notes about that. So just for our citizens, maybe our media will help us remind our citizens to slow down through a construction zone. I drive through that area several times a day in the city, going up north or wherever. And what I've observed is that there are very few people who are respecting the speed limit in that area in a construction zone. It's already a tight area anyways, without construction. I would hate for one of those guys working out there to be hit by somebody driving. There's been a few days it's tight as I've driven by, but if you go 20 miles an hour, which is the new posted speed limit today through there, there is no reason why you should be driving off the road, hitting curbs, inlets, gutters, outlets, whatever you want to call them, or cones. The cones are being destroyed through that area. And so just slow down, take your time through there. It's not that long stretch of an area, and if you feel like it's going to take you too long, there's always Main Street or alternate routes to go, or Old Main. So just slow down through there to the city. And then as we were saying the Pledge of Allegiance this morning, I was just reminded it's voting day. And I went in to the polls this morning to vote and realized I was going to have to go back because there were so many people there. And for a primary, just exciting, I think, to see that many people voting in the primary. So just a reminder to all of our citizens, it's too late if you're not registered, but if you're registered, go vote. So, all right, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.